Way back in the early 90s when things were really cool, Nevermind by Nirvana came out, around the same time as 10 by Pearl Jam. Kurt Cobain, you know Kurt Cobain, commented on Pearl Jam saying they were pioneering a corporate alternative and cock rock fusion. Kurt Cobain called Eddie Vedder a corporate rocker. And it's true, Pearl Jam were the beige mayonnaise sandwich compared to Nirvana's spicy, nicey. I miss the 90s. I miss how scary music was. In fact, how scary most art was. Trent Reznor said the same thing. Thank you, Trent. Hell, I even miss decades that happened before I was born, because it's rare for anything you hear music-wise, or see film-wise, or witness television-wise to make anyone excited. It doesn't excite me. I've had to dig into the crates of time to find myself entertainment that actually satisfies my needs. My very particular but not outlandish needs. I don't have unreasonable needs. I don't need too much. I just need good stuff. Not even necessarily great stuff. Just good stuff. Art used to be anti-establishment and scary and exciting and aggressive. But now it's just corporate gloop. No wonder Adele and Ed Sheeran are the biggest artists on planet Earth. They're as beige can get. That's really beige, by the way. Both of them dropped new albums this year of 2021. But there's nothing new. In fact, you could just listen to any album they released in the years preceding that, and you'd hear their brand new album. That's the sorry state of things. Everything is just corporate and toned down. It's like a McDonald's version of something. McDonald's will have a special menu jerk chicken burger that'll be about as authentic as that rice and peas dish that Marco Pierre White made once. The man actually used rice and garden peas. He did that. That's what Ed Sheeran is. Except the peas will be full of Ritalin. Enough Ritalin to numb your brain into submission. They don't need to drug us anymore. They just need to give us James Corden and Ed Sheeran and Marvel movies. And it stinks. Corporate art is the worst kind of art, and it's the only art we're left with. Not too long ago, one of the biggest artists on planet Earth was Eminem. Someone who everyone tried to cancel. Someone who was very dangerous and very controversial and mischievous. Don't get it twisted. He was corporate and incredibly calculated by design, and that design was pure controversy. So it was okay. This is nothing new. Many great acts of the 90s that were terrifying to the public were also carefully crafted by the corporations who owned them. Marilyn Manson, in fact, go back even further. The Sex Pistols were basically a manufactured band. I guess the people doing the manufacturing were just making good stuff. Recently, Rage Against the Machine embarrassed themselves by lecturing people that they should get injected with a new thing to stop the new thing from making you have an old but updated illness. It was funny. The group that said, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me," now doing exactly what they were told to do. No longer Rage Against the Machine, but actually rage on behalf of the machine. Yes, merch link in bio. Funny thing is, apparently Rage Against the Machine were given their name by their record label. Rage Against the Machine have always been signed to a major record label. They were owned by a machine? Do you get it? I can remember the Christmas #1 campaign to get Killing in the Name of to #1, to stop Simon Cowell having yet another sequential Christmas #1 with one of his silly TV talent show winners. Old sad people who used to chant, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me" back in the 90s, who now have mortgages and tell you to put a mask on for your own good or you should be thrown in jail, gathered round and got giddy. "We're gonna get this to #1 and show the man we mean business." What sad delusional little twerps they are. They didn't even know that this was a marketing ploy crafted by the corporate machine. The masters of all Rage Against the Machine songs is owned by Sony, the record label who Simon Cowell works for, the very label that released the same Christmas #1 that everyone was trying to stop from going to #1. Yes, they all wanted to stop Simon Cowell having his next big Christmas #1 at a time when no one cared about Simon Cowell's latest silly talent show winner. They decided to create a sneaky little campaign where people would suddenly give a shit about a song that no one cared about. That's right, you all got Killing in the Name of to #1 to help boost the sales of Simon Cowell's silly little Christmas #1 by one of his talent show winners that no one cared about. That's the corporation. That's your dad, that is. I guess the problem is there's only 3 record labels. That's right. Only 3. And those 3 record labels own probably 90 to 95% of the entire record industry. There isn't much competition when it comes to the music industry, and what's even worse is that those record labels are no longer hugely profitable. They don't even matter that much to the huge corporations that own those record labels, and those huge corporations are owned by another huge corporation. It wasn't always like this, but this is how it is. They don't care about the record labels. Record labels these days are like the same as batteries and flowers sold in garages. The majority of cash flow comes from petrol, and selling a couple of batteries or some flowers to a man who's just cheated on his wife is a little bonus for Christmas. The music doesn't matter. Maybe the reason that we only get beige corporate music rather than a kaleidoscope of different tastes is because the music industry killed itself when it didn't see the emergence of Napster as a threat. Whatever the reason for constantly playing it safe is, it is undeniable that there are no anti-establishment figures in music. There is not one single artist or band who is considered to be in the slightest bit controversial. There is no artist that creates such moral panic that they burn their music in the streets. There is not one artist that newspapers get outraged over. In fact, newspapers get more outraged over Zoella and PewDiePie than they do by any rapper you can think of. This is unprecedented. This is depressing. And films are the same now too. Every movie studio is owned by another big corporation, and every movie studio consistently puts out middle-of-the-road cookie-cutter cack. Movie studios and record labels are no longer run by people that even like movies. Every big corporation just has a merry-go-round of different CEOs. One week they're in charge of Unilever, the next week they're the head of Channel 4, then the head of Universal Music, and then the head of Marvel Studios. These people know how to run corporations, but they don't know anything about the products made by these corporations. It's all the same to them. You buy it for this much and sell it for this much. Movie studios didn't used to be like this. Record labels didn't used to be like this. Yes, it was big business, and yes, they would have to run every movie they made past a consortium of executives, and they would have to screen it to selected test audiences, just like how they show products to focus groups. And then they would re-edit these movies so they would test better the next time. Even with all that nonsense going on, they still made great things. I've been watching really old films recently. I'm so surprised when seeing a brand new thing that I haven't seen before that's very old. It surprises me how simple and good they are. It doesn't need to be any big gimmick. It doesn't need to be any big spectacle of nonsense with robots headbutting each other and a ludicrous message about the empowerment of teenage women who don't have feet. It's just stories that resonate with human beings. The focus groups and test audiences for modern art must be selected by an algorithm. This algorithm has to have been designed by programmers to find the most beige and compromising people ever to have walked the earth. It must be able to filter these people to make sure that every trait they have is the same as every other person. One calculated collective hive mind formulated to tell the executives exactly what they want to hear. These executives don't even know what an editor does. They don't really understand actors. They have no clue about how even to read, let alone read a script. They just know how to mass produce crap. If they had their way, they would outsource everything to a Chinese sweatshop and have little Chinese actor boys shackled in a studio being shouted at by a man pretending to be a director who is in fact a factory foreman. That's right, everything is crap now. I'm so bored of these corporate whores. Every person on television Every actor, every filmmaker, every story, every idea, every piece of music, every artist is the same person saying the same thing over and 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 over. You get it. It's about as diverse as a Cornish village in 1833. No offense to Cornish villages of the 19th century, but it didn't look like you had much variety going on. Not enough variety for me to want to build a time machine and go there and live amongst you and have a smile on my face. The current landscape of entertainment is terrifying when you look deep into who actually owns everything. The reason why everything is the same and everything is so safe and mundane and beige and just outright mass-produced throwaway shit is because there isn't much variety when it comes to who actually produces films, music and television. Once you go up the chain of command to the very top of the corporate tree, you'll find that there's only actually 5 companies or so that make almost every single piece of entertainment on planet Earth. Just imagine if the whole world of football in every country, every league just had 5 teams. That would mean they would be the same 5 teams playing in every single league, which would mean that football leagues, championships will be won by the same club over and over again. It would mean that Man United would win the Bundesliga and every German would have to clap and cheer for an English football team winning their German league. It would be the same as going to every restaurant in Britain and there are only 5 meals available. 5 meals! There are more different cuisines from around the world that have restaurants dedicated to them than there are record labels, and therefore if you went to a Thai restaurant you'd have to eat a Greg's sausage roll. That would be the most Thai thing you could buy in a Thai restaurant, is a Greg's sausage roll. That's modern entertainment. Entertainment is as corporate as anything can get out there. There's only 3 major record labels in the Western world: Sony, BMG, Warner Brothers and Universal Music Group. Regardless of what record label you think an artist is signed to, eventually 97% of them are all signed to one of 3 labels. And film studios are nowadays pretty much owned by a handful of companies. You may be well aware of how many studios have been bought out by Disney, but just look at all of the companies that own all the entertainment from television to video games to music to movies. Universal Pictures is owned by Comcast. Comcast owns and operates shitloads. Xfinity residential cable communications subsidiary Comcast Business Commercial Services provider Xfinity Mobile. They own Verizon. They own television networks like NBC, Telemundo, Telexitos, and Cozy TV. It also owns multiple cable channels such as MSNBC, CNBC, USA Network, Sci-Fi Channel, Oxygen, Bravo, Cubo, and E! It owns Peacock Animation Studios, DreamWorks, Illumination, and Universal Animation Studios. It also owns Universal Parks and Resorts. It's also the parent company of the mass media pan-European company Sky Group, making it the biggest media company with more than 53 million subscribers in the US and Europe. Warner Brothers is owned by Warner Media, which is owned by AT&T. AT&T own about 98 companies, including CNN, HBO, and Warner Brothers. They also own Universal Unix System Laboratories, Ameritech, SBC Telecom, Disney. Disney owns 20th Century Fox, Lucasfilm, Marvel Studios, and Pixar. Disney's largest shareholder is the Vanguard Group. Nothing screams cartoons like the Vanguard Group. Paramount is owned by Viacom. They own BMT, MTV, Nickelodeon, Showtime, VH1. Sony owns Sony Music and Sony Pictures and Insomnia Games and Columbia Pictures and Columbia Records and Epic Records and EMI. And not to mention all the Sony technology stuff. Jesus. In the 80s, filmmakers like James Cameron and Paul Verhoeven gave us movies that warned us about the future. A future where dastardly, evil, maniacal megacorporations ran everything. Now those movies that they made are owned by dastardly, evil, maniacal megacorporations. And now all filmmakers, instead of warning us and mocking these evil, evil, dastardly, maniacal corporations of evil, they actively get on their knees and perform fellatio upon the mega evil, dastardly, maniacal megacorporations. Google is Skynet. Universal Music is the Wayland Corporation. Disney are the OCP. It's only a matter of time when they will remake RoboCop again, and this time have the OCP Corporation as a stunning and brave organization trying to make the world a better place. They will remake Aliens, and Ripley will be the bad person, because the bad person doesn't want the evil corporation, who are now the good corporation, to take the alien species back to Earth, because all the good mega corporation wants to do is make the world a better place by unleashing one of the most dangerous species in the universe upon the citizens of Earth, because the citizens of Earth don't deserve anything good. That's why they don't give us good films. They will update Terminator with Skynet as the good guys. And in fact, we should be rooting for the Terminator to kill John Connor, because Google can do no evil. Skynet, good. Worship Skynet, suck Skynet off. It hasn't always been this way, but this is how it is now, and how it has been and will be for way too long. There cannot be an anti-establishment musician. There cannot be an anti-establishment filmmaker. There cannot be an anti-establishment TV show, because they are all part of the establishment. This is why we don't have any artists in the current era that can cause controversy, that stick a middle finger up to the establishment, or go on TV and say things that go against the grain. Every artist toes the line. Every message is the same, and everything is beige. All we are left with are attention-seeking antics from desperate, irrelevant old artists like Madonna, who sits in a bath saying blatantly obvious things that she thinks are really profound. Madonna is someone in her 60s who is still behaving like she has to rebel against her ultra-conservative parents. The behavior that mirrors that of a 14-year-old girl. This is all we're left with. The most controversial and rock star-like people we have are some podcasters or YouTubers or public intellectuals. They don't throw TVs out of windows. They don't have orgies with lots of groupies. They don't get on stage and give the lead guitarist a blowjob in front of thousands of petrified fans. But they do strike fear into the mainstream and wind up the establishment so hard that they feel they must condemn every single thing that they do. It's fine, but I do miss my rockstar behavior and anti-establishment rhetoric coming from auteurs and musical artists. I'm just a wanker like that. Some days I wish that it came out that Ed Sheeran was a child murderer, because then at least there would be something about Ed Sheeran that was slightly edgy, and therefore I might respect him more. Do you hear what I'm saying? I am hoping that Ed Sheeran kills children. What kind of a world have I been left in where I would want that? That makes me very sad. Very, 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 very sad. So sad that now I must watch an old film noir and listen to Nirvana and cry. Though I would rather stay on my own for the rest of eternity than ever have to experience Ed Sheeran or James Corden ever again. Boo-hoo-hoo.